To be here with you today. Thank you for your warm welcome. Warmer than last time, as I remember it. Andy and I were just sharing before that last time I came, your boiler was broken. And we were meeting in the back room through there, and I think it was February time or something like that, and it was quite a cold day. But it's really good to be back amongst you, because actually in that time, although we were all crowded into a room, it was a really blessed time. And it's good to be back with you again and to be able to share once more with you. As I come today, I bring with me some greetings, and I bring you greetings on behalf of the wider Baptist family. I don't know if you realise, but as Temple Baptist Church, you were one of the Baptist churches in the Baptist Union of Great Britain, and that's around 1,800 churches. There are 13 different associations, of which South Wales Baptist Association is one. And in South Wales Baptist Association, there are around 120 churches. And if you want to know where those churches are, there's a little map, and it represents, oh yes, if you go back to that, to the next slide, please. It represents around 4,500 members of churches. There are more people who go to the churches than that, because I guess like you'll have a number of people here who aren't necessarily members of the church but are regular attenders. It doesn't include children and youth, so we're around that sort of size. And last year in 2024 there were 138 baptisms reported to us. There may have been more than that, but there were 138, and I put that figure on there because I love baptisms. Not just the number, but because behind each number, there's a story of a life that has been transformed by Jesus. And it's great to see that. And in fact, last year across the Baptist family, there were more baptisms reported than in the previous 10 years. So the highest for 10 years. And my longing is that we see more this year as well. Because as I say, it's about lives being changed by Jesus. So that's a little bit about who we are. The next slide, I bring you greetings as well, not just on behalf of the wider Baptist family, but on behalf of South Wales Baptist Association as well. So there's myself as the regional minister and team leader, Rob May, my colleague, Kath Needham, who is our safeguarding officer, and Karen Caneen, who works in our office. In fact, if you ever ring the South Wales Baptist Association number, you're likely to speak to Karen. And Karen's amazing. She knows just about everything there is to know, and you always get a very warm welcome from her. So greetings on behalf of us as an association. But the greetings don't end there, because last Sunday I was at Lisworry Baptist Church, and while I was there, I said to them, next Sunday I'm at Temple Baptist Church. Can I send your greetings to them? And they said, yes, please do. So you may be able to see there's a number of people waving to you, because last week they wanted to send their greetings to you here today. I kind of like to think of this as a little bit like a Baptist Mexican wave of greetings, because we're part of the Baptist family together. And I'm not preaching next Sunday, but next time I am preaching, I'm at Griffithstown Baptist Church, which is near Pontypool. Could I send your greetings to them? And would you be okay if I took a picture of you? Is that all right? I'm going to do it in two parts, because I don't think I'll fit you in. So I'm going to do this side first. If you'd like to give me a wave, that would be great, thank you. And then I'm going to come over here. And perhaps if you'd like to give me a wave over this side as well. And next time I'll be sending your greetings to Griffithstown Baptist Church as well. If you'd like to know more about what we do as an association, generally our role is to support the churches and ministers across the association to be the best that we can be for God. And it's my privilege as a regional minister to go and work across the churches. But if you'd like to find out more on our website, you can have a look at the SWBA News, which it contains some of the stories. This latest edition that we have tells of some of the grants that we have been able to give to churches and projects to help them do what they're doing. We have a small amount of money that we can do to be able to do that, to support ministries, to support churches. You can read about some of that there if you'd like to on our website, which is very simply www.swba.org. So do have a look at that. And finally, I just want to say on this, thank you. which I think is the next slide. Thank you. We are financed by our churches in our association, and last year we raised nearly £135,000 to help us to do that. So thank you for your support and your generosity within that. If you want to know more about the association, do catch me afterwards and I'll be happy to tell you. But let's turn to God's word. And we've read the story of Mary and Martha. I want to talk to you first about camouflage. Now, you may be aware of camouflage, particularly in areas where you might be, in the jungle or somewhere like that, and you're looking to blend in with your background. And there's something as well called urban camouflage, which is where you are able to blend in within a built-up area. And sometimes we do that deliberately. Sometimes it happens accidentally. And so I want to show you some photos of some urban camouflage that takes place. This is the kind of thing where you might actually dress in a particular way and suddenly you realise, well, actually you're dressed like the carpet or you're dressed very much like the sofa. And sometimes, of course, it's the decoration as you walk along and you realise, actually, I've got the same colour scheme as the walls. Or maybe you are out and about and you match more closely with the train than you intended to do. And if you're in the school environment, well, there's always a pupil who's ready to make fun of perhaps what a teacher might look like. Urban camouflage, where we fit into our surroundings more closely than we intend to do. And I want to approach this passage by asking ourselves the question, as followers of Jesus, as disciples, people who believe in him, can we ever come to church on a Sunday, but then go into the rest of the week and our faith is blended so that actually we don't look any different in society to if we didn't have faith? Or do we stand out day by day? Does our faith make us different day by day in how we live? How much do we blend in? And how much do we stand apart? The reason I say this is because when you read Luke's Gospel, the first 9 chapters or so tend to be asking the question, who is Jesus? And the answer is the Son of God. And towards the end of chapter 9, we're told that Jesus sets his face towards Jerusalem. He knows where he is going. He knows he is going to die. And there's a slight change in what happens, because now the question becomes, if you recognize Jesus is the Son of God, how do I live in light of that? And we see that in chapter 10. When I go around to different churches and have the privilege of preaching in different places, sometimes I take part in series, and sometimes people say, well, it's up to you, preach on what you want to preach on. Feel as you feel led. And I enjoy doing it both ways. When I'm invited to choose my own passage, sometimes what I do is I will look at what the lectionary reading is. The lectionary is a set of readings that is a plan for churches to use. There's an Old Testament reading, a psalm, a New Testament reading, and one of the letters that are set readings that churches can use each week. And actually, for the last 3 weeks, it's been going through Luke chapter 10. So I know you've not been able to go on the journey with me, but I've enjoyed the journey of going through Luke chapter 10, looking at what it means to be a disciple of Jesus, what it means to be a follower of Jesus. And it starts with Jesus sending out the 72 to go and tell people about the kingdom of God and to demonstrate the power that there is within it. Recognizing that as disciples, we're people who are called not just to come in and worship, this is to equip us so that we are ready to go out and share the good news of the kingdom and to demonstrate the power of God's kingdom in the lives that we live. And then it moves on from there. So last week it goes on. There's an expert in the law who asks the question, what must I do to inherit eternal life? And Jesus answers the question with a question and says, well, what does the law say? And they had a way of summing up the law, which is actually on your display there. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbour as yourself. And the expert in the law asks a question about who is my neighbour? And Jesus tells the story of the Good Samaritan. And leaves us perhaps asking the question, not who is my neighbour, but who can I show love to in the week ahead? Because everyone is my neighbour. What he's basically saying is to be a disciple of Jesus is to love God and to love others. And so now today we come to this story of Mary and Martha. And what I want to look at is what can we learn about discipleship from Mary and Martha's example? In fact, we're going to focus mainly on Martha within this. There's a number of different angles you can take. But I did this because actually I think as I read Martha, I can see a lot of things about discipleship that challenge me. And so as I was preparing this, what I'm sharing with you is what's challenged me about how I think about my discipleship journey. And there are three things that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about discipleship and distraction, discipleship and direction, and discipleship and deviation. So for those of you that like everything starting with a particular letter, you've got lots of D's today. Discipleship, we're going to be thinking about distraction, direction, and deviation. Before we get into that, though, I just want to say one other thing about Martha, because when we read this story, we can look at Martha and see, well, how wrong has she got things here? You know, I don't know, do any of you feel sorry for Martha and how she's portrayed it? Yeah, some of you do, yeah. And I want to say, as we come to this, look, there's a lot of good in Martha. There's a lot of good in Martha. You know, when Jesus sends out the 72, he sends them out into the places and he says, when you go out and about, when you enter a house, because they go with nothing, so they need hospitality. When you enter a house, first say, peace to this house. If someone who promises peace is there, your peace will rest on them. And stay there, eating and drinking whatever they give you, for the worker deserves his wages. So basically he's saying, look, actually, there are certain homes you can go to where you'll be welcomed, you will be made to feel welcome, and they will offer you good hospitality. We read right at the start of this, as Jesus and his disciples were on the way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. It's Martha's home. She's opened it up to Jesus. She's a person of peace doing exactly what Jesus is looking for people to do. And we read of other times when Mary and Martha appear, and they, along with their brother Lazarus, are good friends with Jesus. That's what discipleship is about, isn't it? Being a friend of Jesus who is a friend to me. So I want to start by saying, actually, let's recognize as we come to this, there's a lot of good in Martha. She's a good person. But let's see what we can learn from her about discipleship with distraction, direction, and deviation. So first of all, let's look at distraction. I wonder, does anyone here ever get distracted? I can see some nods. I put together a little clip of some stuff of people being distracted, often by their phone. Let's see if this works. It was working beforehand. We'll just give it a moment. If it doesn't, we won't worry. What it would show you if it was working, it's not going to work. It's amazing, isn't it, how often things work before a service and then don't work during a service, but never mind. What it would show you was people who are distracted as they are walking along with their mobile phones. And as they're walking along, they do all sorts of things. The clips I showed mainly involved water. with people actually being on their phone and walking into water because they just weren't concentrating on where they were going, or bumping into something. Distraction. I wonder where you get distracted. Have you ever gone out, like I have quite recently, I need to go to the shops to get something. And then I make the fatal mistake of asking, does anyone else want anything from the shop? And they give me some things that they want from the shops. And I go and I'm so busy remembering what I need to remember to get them from the shops. I come back with without the very thing that I went to go for in the first place. Anyone else ever done that kind of thing? You go with one thing in mind, get distracted, and come back without what you intended. Or perhaps, have you ever done this? You go to a certain room to get something and get there and say, what was it I came for? I can see some nods. I'm glad I'm not alone in this. And I know what the cause of that very often for me is. I'm distracted. My mind is going to many other things. And by the time I've got to a certain place, I've forgotten why I was going there in the first place. This is what we're told about Martha. Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She's busy. She's got a long to-do list. And actually, let's recognize this about her to-do list. It's about serving Jesus, because she's offering hospitality. So she is busy serving Jesus, but she's distracted. She's distracted. And that makes me think about my own life. Can I ever be so busy serving Jesus that I get distracted by all that I have to do? There's an issue here about use of time. Mary and Martha are contrasted because Mary is sitting at the feet of Jesus and Martha is distracted by many things. The Bible has two words for time, and this is an issue of time, really. How do we use our time? And the two words that the Bible uses for time, one is chronos, which is from where we get our word chronology, and really is talking about time moving on from, well, sequentially. So just as 11 o'clock moves to 12 o'clock, moves to 1 o'clock, or Sunday moves through to Monday to Tuesday, July goes through to August. Time moves sequentially. Chronos refers to those things where you are doing things that are time-based sequentially. So busy doing stuff and to-do lists is all to do with chronos time. And then there's another word, kairos time. Kairos refers to those special moments, those moments that you always remember. Could be the birth of your child. Could be a really special holiday. That moment you first realized you were in love with someone. Those special moments that kind of get ingrained in our memories, and it's almost as if it happened yesterday. That's a kairos moment. And you see, here in this story, you've got Martha, who is really to do with all the chronos stuff, and Mary, who is seeking a kairos moment because she's sitting at the feet of Jesus, hearing him speaking, almost certainly with words that would stay with her for the whole of her life. And within our discipleship, there's a question perhaps around our balance. Because I would like to suggest that actually discipleship is about chronos and kairos. It's about there are moments where we have things to do for Jesus. There is a task to which we are called in living for him as his disciples. But we're also to be people who have those kairos moments where we meet with Jesus. The problem can be, and I don't know if it's like this for you, but this is the problem I can sometimes have. I'm so busy doing chronos, I don't make space for kairos. I don't make space for those special moments. Or even when I do, even when I come on a Sunday, my mind can be so caught up with all the things that are going on outside of there, the things I need to do when I leave this space, that my mind is a whirl. And I just need to somehow still myself so that I might hear the voice of Jesus. I wonder, for any of us here today, is there a question about whether we are stilling our minds enough today to listen to the voice of Jesus? Is there a question about whether we will make space for that in the week ahead? What would it look like for you in your week this week to make space to hear the voice of Jesus? What would you need to do? And are you going to do it? It might be as simple as setting aside 15, 20 minutes a day to say, I'm just going to be still. I'm going to read some of the Bible, and then I'm going to still my mind and still my heart. Don't get disillusioned or disappointed if you struggle to do that to begin with. It's a practice, it's a spiritual practice, a spiritual discipline that grows as we try and do it. But for me, the challenge comes, and I share it with you in case there's anyone else who can be a bit like me. What's my balance between listening and serving? And of course, we could be out of balance on either way. Maybe there's somebody here today who is doing so much of, I'm in the presence of God, and that's a great thing, but I never have time to serve him. Maybe God wants to ask you, have you got your balance right? Or maybe you want to ask God, is my balance right with this? Some challenges around discipleship and distraction. Second one we're going to look at is direction. And one of the things that I'm very grateful for in my role, and I sometimes wonder, how did people do it before that, is I travel around to lots of different churches. My sat-nav is my friend. It helps me to get to places. But I do like quite looking at some of the examples where people have followed their sat-navs and ended up in unusual places. Here are a couple of examples. Here's the first one. Clearly, that van is not travelling along a suitable road, but he's followed his sat-nav. Here's a second example. There might be a space there, but it looks rather too narrow for that particular lorry. And I don't know if any of you are following the golf at the moment, but you might wonder how on earth somebody followed their sat-nav to end up in this position. I suspect that's not a hazard any of the golfers today will be facing. You see, actually what I have learned with my sat-nav as well is there is actually a skill in following your sat-nav. I've been caught out a few times where my sat-nav has said to me, turn left ahead. And I've thought that's meant the next left, and it's just warning me there is a turning coming up a little bit further on, and I've gone left too early. Or right, whichever way. Because there's a skill in being led by your sat-nav. A skill in being led. I think there is also a skill in being led by Jesus. As disciples of Jesus, we're supposed to be his followers. But there's a skill in that. And there's something that Martha does here in her question that I relate to. And I wonder if you do as well. So Martha was distracted by all her preparations that had to be made. She came to Jesus and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me. Let's first of all have sympathy. How many of us at one time or another have been annoyed by the fact that we're busy doing something, working so hard, and there's somebody else just sitting down doing nothing? And I can see a number of hands going up or some nods there. Because it can be so frustrating, can't it? Just sitting around while I'm doing everything. They could help. It's very natural to feel that. But look at the question of what happens. Lord, don't you care that my sister has let me do the work by myself? Don't you care? What she's basically saying is, you should care. You should care. Tell her to help me. This is what you should do. And I just ask the question, at this point, is Martha following or is she trying to lead? Is she trying to direct Jesus or listen to Jesus? She's actually directing Jesus about what she wants him to do. And I find that challenging in a number of ways because when I look at my life, I think, maybe I do the same at times. Let me look at how I pray for things. And please don't mishear me now, because I think it's good that we do this. But how many of my prayers are about what I want God to do? And how many of my prayers are saying, God, tell me what you're doing, show me. Tell me how you want me to understand this situation. Now, as I say, don't get me wrong, because I believe part of prayer it's a right thing for us to pray these things and say, Lord, this is what I want to happen. Lord, please, can we pray? Can I ask you that this good thing might happen? That's a good thing. And God blesses us so many times with answers to our prayers. Please hear that. But what I'm asking myself the question is, what's my balance? How often do I say, Lord, help me to understand more of what's going on and what you're doing in this particular position? Help me to stop directing you as to what I want you to do. Help me to listen to what you're saying to me. There's something about control of our lives. And however much I try to lay my life down and say, Lord, I am yours, I try and wrestle them back control because I want to make decisions myself. And I'm constantly asking myself the question, Lord, am I doing your will or my will? Am I directing you and asking you to bless my plans? Or am I truly seeking to live for you and what you're saying? It challenges me, and I ask you those questions as well. Who is in control of your life? Who is directing your life? Is it you? Or is it God? How do you tell the difference between the two? Because that's a challenge as well, trying to tell the difference between the two. Do we put God in a box, just simply telling him this is how we want him to act? Or do we say, Lord, help me to see what you're doing in this situation and where you are at? Because God is at work. And so I share these challenges about discipleship, asking the question about who is directing our lives, ourselves or Jesus, and the call for Jesus to be the one who's directing us. Discipleship is about direction, following his direction. Let's follow on and look finally at deviation. I love a story that was reported in Reader's Digest a number of years ago. The fact that does Reader's Digest still exist? I don't know. It used to be the kind of thing you'd read in doctors' surgeries and places like that whilst you were waiting. Reader's Digest, the source of many a good story. And this is a story of two battleships that were on manoeuvres in the ocean. And whilst they were there, the weather started to deteriorate. The sight wasn't so good. But the captain of the lead battleship, had a report that ahead of them there was a light. And so he realized that this would be the other battleship. And so he sent out a message to the other battleship saying, "We are on a collision course. Advise you to change course 20 degrees. I received a message back. We advise you to change direction by 20 degrees. Well, the captain was a little bit annoyed by this, and so he sent the message saying, "This is the lead captain. Change your course by 20 degrees. The response came, I'm a seaman second class. Advise you to change your course 20 degrees. By this stage, the captain was very angry indeed, so he sent a third message saying, I am a lead battleship. Change your course by 20 degrees. To which the message came back, I'm a lighthouse. Advise you to change your course by 20 degrees. Somebody who is so set on going in a particular direction. How stubborn we can be. Well, I wonder, the last verses in our reading, Martha, Martha, Lord, the Lord answered, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. I wonder, I'd love to know how she reacted after that, would you? Did she alter what she was doing? Or did she go about banging pots and pans angrily? I suspect she reacted well, but we're not told. I wonder, is there ever a moment in our discipleship where we are so set on a path that we are travelling and Jesus wants to say to us, hang on, you need to alter your course? And are we so busy saying, no, this is the course that I'm on, I'm keeping going on this course, that we need to listen and we need to hear and ask, am I willing to deviate? I just want to speculate on a couple of things that could come out from this about why Martha might need to reevaluate and deviate from her understanding. What was it about what was going on when he says few things are needed, or indeed only one? What happens if Martha did no more preparations? Everyone would have been hungry. So is he saying, actually, stop exactly what you're doing and don't do any more preparation of food because that's not needed anymore? I don't think that's exactly what's going on here. But here's the contrast I would like to suggest, and something that challenges me. You see, Mary, when she is sitting at the feet of Jesus, where is her focus? On Jesus. Martha, as she is doing all her service of Jesus, could have her focus on, I'm doing this for Jesus. I'm focusing on him. How do I do this as well as possible? It's great that I have the privilege of serving Jesus. Or she could have her focus on Mary and say, well, look, she's not doing this. She should be. Do you see the difference? It's not about whether she's serving or she's in the place of listening and worship. Could it be that it's in the place of whether her focus is on, I'm doing this for Jesus, or I'm annoyed by what this other person is doing? You see, sometimes we can be serving and actually really frustrated by other people. And maybe one thing is needed is this. Our focus is on, I'm doing this for Jesus. It's for him. And even if others are not pulling their weight, I'm doing this for Jesus. I'm doing what I can for him. My eyes are on Jesus. One of the things I've observed so many times in church life, it's not just about what we do, it's about the way we do it. I've seen so many people who have a real passion for serving, but upset lots of other people as they do it. It's about how we do it as well. Are our eyes on Jesus? The question I ask myself is, as I go about doing many different things, are my eyes on Jesus? Or do I allow frustrations of others to impact how I am? See, within this story, however we are serving, whether it's through listening at the feet of Jesus or whether we're serving through practical ways, who are my eyes on? Maybe I'm just speculating here, but it's what challenges me about discipleship. Another thing here, the second thing that I want to say is, do you know, at the time, women weren't deemed worthy of instruction, of receiving instruction and being taught. Mary was actually doing something quite countercultural by sitting at the feet of Jesus, because culturally, what she should have been doing is helping Martha. But is Jesus saying, in speaking with Mary being there, you have great value to me. And is Jesus saying to Martha, look, there's one thing only is needed, that you know just how valuable you are. You're not limited by what your culture says about you, what others say about you. You are worthy in my sight. Mary is worthy to receive instruction, and you are valued by me as well. And just maybe I wonder if there's anyone here today or who's watching online now or catching up later who needs to hear this. You are valued and loved by Jesus. You're valued and you're loved by Jesus. Even if you don't feel it. If you feel like you've been put in a box and there's only one particular way you're supposed to act, he might want to say to you, I love you for who you are. Because that's who Jesus is. He loves you and he loves me for who we are. And when we discover that, when we discover how much he loves us, and that we have this privilege of being invited into relationship with him, maybe we discover that that's all that really matters. Just one thing. One thing on which we can focus and not be distracted from. One thing on which we can focus and say, that means I don't need to rule my own life. I can trust him completely for direction in my life. One thing and one thing only is what he says about me. So I may need to deviate from my understanding. I may need to change my course. But I'll do that because of his love for me. You see, our discipleship is not founded on duty. It's founded on his love. His love for you and for me, that says, not only are we his family, but we have the privilege of being called by him to serve him and to live for him as well, day by day. Discipleship. What does it look like for you this week? What does it look like for me? How will I respond to his love? How will you respond to his love as we have the opportunity to not only say, who is Jesus? He is the Son of God. How will I live in light of that? I don't want my faith to just make me blend in so that actually when I go through the rest of the week from a Monday through to a Saturday, you couldn't tell whether I am following him or not. I want to stand out and be distinct in the way that I live my life every day for him, because I am his follower. I am his disciple. I am loved by Jesus. May God help you. May God help me to follow him in the week ahead. Amen. The musicians are going to come back as we have the opportunity to respond. We respond first in song, and then we're going to gather around the Lord's table together as we recognize his love for us and his call on our lives.
We're going to spend a few moments as Mary, and Mark is going to spend a few moments